What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's Daniel and welcome back to our video. Today I'll be previewing Front Row Motorsports as we head into the 2025 NASCAR season. I'll be talking about all the drivers from the Cup team and the truck team for 2025. So anyways, let's go ahead and just jump straight into it. The first driver we're talking about from Front Row Motorsports today is Todd Gillan. Todd Gillan will move numbers in 2025 as a move from the number 38 car to the number 34, which is the lead car in 2025. Now Todd Gillan had some decent stats in 2024. While he did not pick up a win and didn't score a single top 5, he had 4 top 10 finishes. Going into 2025, he also will have a new crew chief for this year as Chris Lawson jumps away from Rick Ware Racing to return to Front Row Motorsports and be the crew chief for Todd Gillan in 2025. Todd Gillan in 2024 had a very solid season. While yes, he didn't score a win or a top 5, Gillan had some really strong pace and really good speed throughout the year and led a ton of laps, the most laps he's ever led in a season. And I think Todd Gillan, especially with him being the lead guy of this program in 2025, he only gets better every single year. Another big thing around Todd Gillan is he's going to have the Love sponsorship in 2025. It's unknown how many races exactly they are going to sponsor Todd Gillan, but it's going to be a majority of races in 2025. I look at Todd Gillan as someone who has a really bright future going forward with this organization and team. And I think that he's only going to get better in 2025, especially with the fact that Chris Lawson is going to be the crew chief. So, what are my expectations for Todd Gillan in 2025? Realistically, I think he's going to be a borderline playoff contender. I think he's going to have a really good chance and opportunity for the first time in his Cup Series career to finish in the top 20 in points. I think he's going to be on the border of making the playoffs this year because I think that Todd Gillan and Chris Lawson are going to cook extremely well because Chris Lawson, if I'm not mistaken, was a crew chief when Todd Gillan was in the Truck Series for this team in 2021. So I think Gillan, especially working with this team, he's going to be very strong. He's going to be extremely confident going into the year, especially with the Tier 1 alliance that Front Row has with Ford nowadays. I really think that Todd Gillan is going to have a very good season. I think the 34 team is going to be very strong. They're going to have the pace and speed, and I could see him getting a win before the end of the year. He's been really good at super speedways, and we know their super speedway qualifying speed is going to be there, so I would not be shocked or surprised if Todd Gillan ends up getting his first career NASCAR Cup Series pole, and I would not be surprised or shocked by the end of 2025 that if Todd Gillan does somehow in some way end up winning his first career Cup race, which I think anything's possible, nothing's off the table. I think Todd Gillan will be pretty fast and really quick with this team in the 2025 NASCAR Cup Series season with Front Row Motorsports. The second driver we're talking about today from Front Row Motorsports is Noah Grayson. Noah Grayson, the last year was with Stewart-Haas Racing, will drive the number 4 car for Front Row Motorsports in 2025. Noah Grayson in 2024 has some pretty decent numbers. He didn't win a race in 2024, but he had 1 top 5 and 7 top 10 finishes. And Noah Grayson was very consistent at the start of the year. The number 10 team is really surprising because going into 2024, I really was not that confident in Noah Grayson. But Noah Grayson really impressed me in the 2024 season, especially in a very tumultuous and turmoil season for Stewart-Haas Racing. Now, going into 2025, basically the 10 team from Stewart-Haas Racing is all going to pretty much be sticking around in 2025 as Drew Blickenserver, who used to be the crew chief for Michael McDowell back in the day, he will crew chief for Noah Grayson once again in 2025. And I think this working relationship and pairing between Grayson and Blickenserver, I think is really going to work out extremely well for this team in 2025. So, what are my realistic expectations of Noah Grayson this year? Personally, I don't see Noah Grayson winning a race or contending for a win overall throughout the year outside of potentially the super speedways because Noah Grayson is a pretty dang good super speedway racer. He generally runs up front at these types of tracks. He generally struggles on the road courses though, so I'm a little worried about that. He hasn't been that good on road courses throughout his NASCAR career, even going back to his Xfinity Series days when he drove for Junior Motorsports. I could see him seeking a win at the super speedways, but outside of that, that's pretty much it. The good news for Noah Grayson, he's picking out some new sponsorship for this year. Zepp is going to be sponsoring him. I believe that Miller Tech is sponsoring for around 3 or 4 races, and Mahindra, from what I understand, is also going to be sponsoring Noah Grayson this upcoming year and this upcoming season. But I think that Noah Grayson, long term with this team, well, maybe in the short term won't be super strong. I think long term that Noah Grayson has a lot of potential to be really strong with Front Row. This is the charter car from Stewart-Haas Racing, by the way. So I think Grayson has been very strong and was really good, had a really big comeback year in 2025. 2024 after a disastrous year in 2023. And I think that Noah Grayson will have a pretty big resurgence and comeback season once again, as I think he'll be very fast, and I think he'll have the pace and speed to definitely contend with the Front Row Motorsports group and organization in the 2025 NASCAR Cup Series season. The third driver we're talking about from Front Row Motorsports today is Zayn Smith. Zayn Smith will return to Front Row Motorsports for the first time since 2023. Zayn Smith will also drive the number 38 car in 2025. Now, Zayn Smith last year had some very mixed results. He didn't win a race in 2025, but he had 2 top 5 finishes and 4 top 10 finishes. In the first half of 2024, it was a disaster for Zayn Smith. He didn't really have the pace and speed, and Zayn, as a rookie, was making a ton of mistakes. However, in the second half of the season, Zayn Smith really turned a corner. He went from having like a 28th to 29th place average finish in the early portion of the season to having 18th place average finish in the second half of the year. And all of his top 10s and top 5s came in the second half of the year. He was replaced by Shane Van Gisbergen, which obviously at the time was the right choice because Shane is going to give you a chance and opportunity to go out there and win some road course races. Now, going into 2025, Ryan Burgundy is also going to be the crew chief. He was the crew chief for Todd Gillan in 2024. He'll work with Zayn Smith in 2025. I think that this pairing could be a sleeper pairing in 2025. So, what are my realistic expectations for Zayn Smith in Front Row in this 38 team this upcoming season? I think Zayn Smith could be a sleeper pick to maybe win on a road course this year. The 38 car showed some really strong speed with Todd Gillan on road courses in 2024, and one of Zayn's top 5 finishes, if I remember correctly, came at Watkins Glen at the end of last year. And I think Zayn Smith is going to be very, very quick throughout 2025. I think he could be a borderline sleeper pick to make the playoffs if things go right. But I think especially with his previous work and relationship with this team and program, I think that's really going to help him out in a really big way this upcoming season. I think Zayn's going to be quick. I think he is going to have the pace and speed. And again, I would not be surprised or shocked if Zayn Smith does pull off a win before the end of the year. I really think Zayn has potential. I think he's got a lot of potential to be a Cup Series champion one day. He's proven it time and time again. I think Zayn Smith will be pretty quick. I think he will have generally the pace and speed, and I think it's going to be pretty solid and strong year for Zayn Smith at Front Row Motorsports in 2025. Now let's transition to the Craftsman Truck Series. The first truck driver we're talking about from Front Row is Lane Riggs. Lane Riggs will drive the number 38 truck once again in 2025. Now last year, Lane Riggs had an up and down season. He picked up 2 wins at the end of the year, those coming at Bristol and the Milwaukee Mile. He had 7 top 5s and 10 top 10 finishes. And once again, Dylan Capella, who was the crew chief for him in 2024, is expected to be the crew chief once again in 2025. Lane Riggs in the first half of the year, I was really worried about this pairing. It just didn't seem like this pairing was doing very, very well. But we have to remember a lot of the personnel from the 38 truck team at the start of the year left the program, I believe, to go to the Cup program or another team in Cup operation. And now this two really gelled in the second half of the year. Lane Riggs had a stretch of races, I believe from race like 15 or something like that, all the way to the end of the year, where Lane Riggs only had like 1 or 2 finishes outside of the top 10. And like I said, won 2 races in a row at Milwaukee and Bristol. And going into 2025, I think that Lane has a lot of potential to be really strong this year. So, what are my expectations for Lane Riggs in 2025? I think he's going to be a championship contender. Sure, he's going to be going up against guys like Raja Karuv and Corey Heim and his teammate Chandler Smith, we'll talk about here in just a short little bit. And of course, Caden Honeycutt and all those big names moving down like Ty Majeski as well. But I think Lane Riggs was one of the fastest drivers in the second half of the year. And he was faster than Corey Heim at times near the end of the year and the season. So I really think that Lane Riggs is going to be a major threat and serious contender in 2025. I think the goal should be championship 4. I'm not sure about him completely winning the championship in 2025. But I think it's realistically possible that if he can bring the pace and speed that they're really looking for at Front Row, I could see Lane Riggs going out there and winning his first ever Craftsman Truck Series title. Plus, he's been very good at Phoenix historically too. Had good speed in 2024. If the bad luck can stay away like it had at the start of the 2024 season, I think that Lane Riggs could really cook this year and have a very strong year. I think he gets a couple victories. I've got him winning 2 or 3 races this year, and most likely definitely having the pace and speed to make the championship 4. I'm looking for Lane Riggs to have a pretty big, massive, and a pretty big breakout season with Front Row Motorsports in 2025. The fifth and final driver we're talking about from Front Row Motorsports today is Chandler Smith. Chandler Smith, while the numbers have not been confirmed and the crew chief has not been announced, I believe, for 2025 as of yet, we do think the number is going to be the number 34. Now, Chandler Smith had an up and down season in Xfinity competition in 2025, or 4, I should say. He drove for Joe Gibbs Racing last year in the number 81 car and got 2 wins early in the season, those coming at Phoenix and Richmond Raceway. And had 17 top 5s and 22 top 10s. He also, I believe, had the best average finish of all drivers in NASCAR Xfinity Series competition, and had we gone by the Winston Cup points, Chandler Smith would have been the champion that year. I think Chandler Smith has a lot to prove going into 2025. He is one of the biggest wild cards going into this season. He's going back to a series where he's been strong. Now, what are the expectations for Chandler Smith going into 2025? The goal is to try to win the championship this year. He's going to be working with Front Row, and we know Front Row's Truck Series program has always ran very, very good. But Chandler Smith's also very good at this type of racing as well. I look for Chandler Smith to get multiple wins and multiple victories this season. I think he will win at least 2 to 3 races, and I think he'll take it to Corey Heim throughout this year. I think of all the drivers going into the truck competition, I think he is the second favorite currently at the moment to win the championship. I still think Corey Heim is the current favorite right now, but I do think that Chandler Smith is going to have the pace and speed to contend, and I think he will win, like I said, 2 to 3 races, and will also be very, very consistent. We know he's going to be good on the flatter oval tracks throughout the year, and he's going to be good at tracks like Darlington, which he's almost won at before. He's going to be good at Bristol. He's going to be fast there. His front row was really strong there the last time we were there, but I think he's going to be fast enough to definitely contend throughout 2025, where, like I said, I think he will be able to have the pace and speed to get multiple wins and multiple victories with Front Row. I think Chandler Smith will be one to watch out for, and maybe down the road he goes cup racing with Front Row, which I think is the long-term plan for him with this program, because we have to remember Chandler Smith is only going into this year being 23 years old at the end of the season. So I think Chandler Smith will be quick enough. I think he will definitely have the pace and speed, and I think Chandler Smith will be looking to have a really strong and great year with Front Row in the Craftsman Truck Series in 2025. The big thing around Front Row is the lawsuit, though. This is a big story around it. Remember, 2011 and Front Row are currently suing NASCAR at this particular moment and point. And that is going to be the overarching story around Front Row, is this lawsuit and all the stuff proceeding around it. That's going to be a big story to watch out for, especially with the futures of guys like Noah Grayson, Zayn Smith, and Todd Gillan kind of hanging in the balance at the moment right now with their futures a little bit, especially because if they lose their charters they have, which I don't think they're going to lose their charters because they're supposed to keep the charters at this point. We'll see what happens there. But overall, Front Row is really building up a solid program for 2025. I like the future of this organization and team, and I really think Front Row could have a breakout year as an organization. I could see them winning multiple races this year. I think the truck program is going to be championship caliber, while I do think the Cup program is going to be pretty good also in 2025. I think there's going to be some good speed coming out of the Front Row camp this upcoming year and season. So, that is going to be today's breaking video on Front Row Motorsports and previewing them for 2025. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, notifications on, so if I win a video, it does go live on my channel. Follow me Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and support me on Patreon as well. Let's go below that and comment your thoughts below on today's episode. What's your expectations of Front Row Motorsports heading into 2025? Let me know it in the comments below. There might not be any more videos dropping today, since especially it is my birthday, which I just turned 25 today. So if you want to wish me happy birthday in the comments, you can definitely do that. There will be content dropping tomorrow. Not quite sure what it could be. It might be a news video, and we'll have to kind of wait and see. We'll be talking throughout the months like about Haley Deegan, Shane Van Gisbergen, Carl Edwards, Kurt Busch, Kyle Busch, Bubba Walls, 2011 Front Row, the lawsuit, Eric Almirola, Chandler Smith, Sam Mayer, Sheldon Creed, all those good people, Alex Bowman, William Byron, Tyler Reddick, Brad Keselowski, all those big people throughout the year. Same with Connor Zilic in Junior Motorsports as well. So anyways, like I said, I want to thank you guys for watching today's episode, and I'll see you guys next time for more great, awesome NASCAR content and other motorsports content on the channel like this. Take care, everybody.